Hey everyone, welcome back. Betsperts Golf 2023 Zurich Classic TPC Louisiana. It is a team event. Joined here as always in the Bayou, or maybe a little north of the Bayou. Annie Molitor. Annie, how we doing?
Yeah, I don't remember what this background was. It may be Sea Island, it may be Hilton Head. It is somewhat. I'm going to claim it's the swamp, whatever. But yeah, we're in Louisiana Pete Dye track team play, and this hasn't been team play forever. This is a tournament they've played for a long time, and it was just regular stroke play. I'm not sure what the thought process was to add the team event. I don't hate varieties the spice of life. I like the match play, team play. I love, obviously, Ryder Cup, President's Cup, different things like that. One of my favorite events of all time, and I say it every year, is the Skins game. The Skins game was just a super fun match play event that they had, around Thanksgiving weekend every year. I wish they would bring that back. That was always fun viewing at home. And, the team thing adds a little bit of a wrinkle, but at the end of it, it's still just, a track that's been used. We have data for this, this course when it was a stroke play event. We have data on, everybody basically in the field who probably matters, and just got to start picking it apart and figuring out how to win the team event. So before we get into all that, any RBC final thoughts?
I love that course. I love that event. It was, I love seeing the best in the world, because you always think of what was it, for the last 6 years, we've had pretty much like bombs win there. We've seen guys like, I was referenced Tyler Duncan, a guy who's just never really relevant outside of like those types of courses. But then when you get the big dogs on that course, those guys still kind of fall to the wayside. So I don't think that that's going to be in play, because I know that there's a bunch of courses that are rotating in terms of what's going to be designated events. So I don't expect that to be a continuation, especially we heard a little bit last week, some guys being, I don't know if it was more so us in the content space or actual golfers, but right on the back of the Masters, having a designated event's probably not the best way to go about that, giving those guys a little bit of time off. So especially being that there are a bunch leading into the Masters as well. So that one probably falls by the wayside, and we get back to the T Dunks of the world being relevant there. But yeah, I love that course. I love how it plays on TV. That was a great finish with, Cantley kind of falling the wayside with Spieth and Fitzpatrick. I love the narrative of growing up, vacationing there. And I don't know if you got to watch a lot of it, but it was entertaining. And that's kind of what that course is there is some fireworks in the back nine that can go sideways too, with errant tee shots and approach shots with all the water in there. So yeah, I thought it was great television.
Yeah, not only a good course, great field, but a good closing stretch of holes.
Yeah,
which were perfect not only for the finale of regulation golf, but also a nice setup for what we had with the playoff. And for a guy who's never, and I'm sure he's played in a playoff at some point in, I was going to say high school. I don't know what the hell they call it, or primary school, uni, when he was golfing at uni or whatever. I'm not sure what the Brits say, but I'm sure he's played in a play. But Fitzpatrick has never played in a playoff at the highest level, or so. For the first playoff, going against the defending champ and dropping that shot, that was very impressive by the young man. That was a very late night ad for Cal and I on our one and done. It felt so good. Like, even just to be in the playoffs, like, all right, we made up a bunch of money this week. So that felt really good. But yeah, let's dig into this course. I've said it's not one of my favorites, and the more I looked at it, I kind of felt bad saying that earlier in the week, because it's not a bad course at all. It's actually a good course, and it is another Pete Dye design. So it's what do we all say? Thinking man's course. So boom, there it is.
Third Pete Dye in the past 6 weeks. We've had
yeah. If you have any, like Pete Dye models you've made, or rankings that you've done for Pete Dye specific stuff, can probably bring it back. Obviously, it's a little weird with the two guys, but yeah, par 72, a little longer, 7,400 yards, Bermuda, and the fairways, and it's all Bermuda. But again, we're still kind of in that tweener stage. It's not summer yet. Technically, it's barely spring. So they are doing still the overseed with the Poa Triv. So it's going to be similar to what we saw a few weeks ago. Same kind of greens, short rough, only 2 inches. That's the biggest thing here as we get into some of the stats that matter eventually. It is not going to matter off the tee. Like there is some advantage to being a long driver, but like I said, 2-inch rough and fairways that are like 35 yards wide. It is going to be really tough to get in trouble off the tee. It is truly, turning into this positional golf, second shot golf with these smaller greens. They're not tiny, but they're on the small side. A lot of danger, though. I mean, obviously, same thing we said. Pete Dye course, a lot of bunkers, a lot of water, a lot of places to get you in trouble. So it is going to be, kind of strategy. And I think that's why it's a good choice for this kind of tournament, because you have the foursomes and 4-balls. It's team play. Like you can have some fun strategies. Like, hey, this is a hole. You talk amongst your teammates. This is a hole I can crush, so I'm going to go for it. And then you can have other guy. Well, I will play it safe and try to par this hole if you're gonna go for it when we have water danger on 7 of these holes. And a lot of that comes into play too when you're playing the 4-balls and you have 2 shots into the green from both. Both guys get a shot at the green. If you have a safe shot, you can have a guy just go for it. So there's some exciting things that come from the team element. It's the same thing we see when we end up doing these Ryder Cups, which we're going to have later this year, President's Cup. So that part is fun. Some of the strategy around, all right, well, you absolutely bottled this hole. I have to hit something safe here. Like it does change the dynamic quite a bit, which is why the stats are kind of right up there with, Ryder Cup and match play stats. It's like, well, would he have ever hit that shot under a normal situation? How do we penalize his strokes gained approach based off he had to pin seek there and it went went off into the bunker? Like that's not a normal shot he would have taken. So the stats at the end of the day are kind of useless here, but coming in, I think you can probably glean something and use some of the stats coming in, especially form.
Yeah, format wise, we have 82-man teams. Andy's kind of talked about here. If you aren't aware, we are, mixing it up a little bit. It is best ball on first round, and it is alternate shot on round 2 on Friday. Top 33 teams and ties will make it through the cut, and we go back to the same format: best ball for round 3, alternate shot for the 4th round, and the variance that comes out of that. Again, this is probably a better TV event because of some of the things that you're talking about, because you do see guys having to be forced into more aggressive shots. There is the strategy involved here. And when you get to a spot where guys are able to kind of let it loose off the tee, and again, there's some water and there's some difficult shots where guys maybe have to be less than driver or be smart. You just see a little bit of a different aggressiveness, similar to we talked about in match play too, where you're just like, hey, it doesn't really matter here. I can't play for a par. I'm not playing for a 72 hole score. I'm not playing to move on to the next hole, take my medicine. I got to win or lose and move forward from there. So it's a little bit of a unique flavor. I like it.
Yeah. And there's going to be some absolute zero pressure shots, that's my favorite thing. Your partner, you're playing you're playing best ball. Your partner has a kick in, like he legitimately has a birdie for, a foot, under 12 inches, just absolute tap in. Like, what do? You have to go for the hole. Like, yeah, at that point, we're like, well, I'm going to try to hit a shot that goes in for an eagle from, the fairway at this point. That's basically all I can do. So it does lend for some unique shots, unique strategy. And then something fun I didn't honestly realize, and I just put on here because I thought it was fun. If they do go to a playoff, which seems tough because, there's just the scoring is going to end up in the 20 under kind of range.
Yeah.
Like scoring, it's like, hey, what do you guys shoot at your normal course? Oh, what'd you shoot in that best ball scramble with your buddies? Like those are 2 different numbers. So there's going to be some very low scores here. So I don't know if a playoff's in the works, but if they do a playoff, they will play every other hole, foursomes and 4-ball. Best ball and alternate shot. So that's super unique. I honestly kind of want to see that just because that's kind of messy. And then real quick, refresher, 4-ball. Each player will play the hole like you're just two guys playing the hole. If you shoot a 4 and your partner shoots a 3, your score for the hole is a 3. If you both shoot 5s, your score is a 5. So we're going to do this twice. And then the other 2 days are alternate shots. This is where you play the same ball. So you hit the tee shot, your partner hits the approach shot, you hit out of the bunker because he fucked it up. He putts, he misses, then you putt again. And it does not matter who finishes the hole. You will, if you take the tee shot at 1, you will take every odd numbered tee shot. It doesn't matter if you continually, if you take that last shot that puts the ball in the hole, it doesn't mean it's his turn on the next hole automatically. You will take every other tee shot. So not as complicated as Ryder Cup, just those 2 formats, but we're going to do this every other day. And then obviously, some guys won't make the cut. It's actually probably a really good cut rule because there's too many teams. 80 teams is too many.
It's a lot of players.
It's too many freaking golfers at this point. Like 60 teams would have probably been fine. I know they want to reward people. It's basically the top 80 golfers that want to play, and then they get to pick their partner. The only rule is that guy has to have a PGA card.
So that's why we have a John Daly and David Duvall team in the field. Not a lot of people want to play. They want to take a couple weeks. They want to take a week off after going back to back there at Harbor Town and Augusta. So yeah, it is an interesting format, and I do think it's going to be, like I said, probably a better watching event than a betting event. But again, Pete Dye, it's not as Pete Dye as some of the other tracks, if that makes sense. It's not like you said, it's a little bit more friendly in some areas off the tee, which is not necessarily how we know Pete Dye courses to be. So well, let's start at the top of the board. We have some pretty short numbers with some solid teams. The defending champs, obviously, and they're coming in terrific form with Patrick Cantley and Xander Schauffele, who were both in the mix last week at Harbor Town, and then are the defending champs here. So opened right around 5 at most spots, and then got pounded down, which is now really short. We're basically at 3. There's some, sub 3s out there in the space, and I totally get it. In comparison, they are, they won this with the record score, and they are in really good form currently. There's also the Homakawa team with Max Homa and Colin Morikawa, the Kyle Baird squad, the next team that is sub 10. Again, I don't think of Morikawa and Homa as guys. I mean, they're 2 of my favorites, guys that we talk about all the time, guys that we bet all the time. I don't think of them as guys that I want when the scoring is getting into like the low to mid 20s. But they also are just terrific golfers, and maybe overthinking it, and I probably am. Those are definitely the top 2. They're in their own tier. I have not seen any of your bets. I would have had interest in both. They're both really short numbers. Did you have any interest in those top 2 teams?
No, I'd have to parlay it with something. I get it. I mean, I understand how good everyone's playing. If we say form absolutely matters, form, of course, history, just the fact that these are almost surely the 2 best golfers in the field and they're playing with each other. I get it. You're going to be 3-1, but there's still 80 teams. It's still golf. There's still a lot of variance. The issue with the variance comment is it's harder to have, you essentially can't have a blow up hole, because to have a blow up hole, you both have to blow it up at the same time. The odds of both of you absolutely screwing up and taking a triple or worse on the same hole, being top 5 golfers in the world, just aren't there. So these really good teams, just, it's almost like, the guys who do the top flight at your men's night and they play in the scramble. It's like, well, shit, they're going to shoot 16 under here. It's just so hard for both of them to screw up at the same time. So it's very difficult for me to see them not, in the top 10. It feels like that's their floor just because of the format. It's so tricky to absolutely screw this up. So I get it. The price is the price. I'm not betting it. I can't bet it. Maybe if you have a fun parlay you want this weekend, that's a fun leg to throw in. Then you can be when they're 6 clear this weekend and you've got your 3 baseball legs home, you can be I have Cantley and Sander at 1,800 or something fun like that. So I wouldn't do that. And then just Homa looked a little disengaged last week. I know he likes Morikawa. He's having fun with this team pairing, and he's a very good golfer. But I'm not so sure. I'm super excited about backing either of those guys right now. And Morikawa's going to have to putt, and we saw what we got out of that last week. That was extremely annoying. I used him in some DFS, and he was hurting me a lot. So I'm off the top two for different reasons. But again, I expect both of these teams to be in contention.
Yeah, let's take a step back too. When you look at what really matters here, like you said, we don't have current data. We have some understanding of just basically the layout of the course and what matters, even though we don't have strokes gain data. And even if we did, it'd be noisy for all the reasons that you pointed out, Andy. But approach is going to matter, as always matters, and matters a lot here on any die track. The greens aren't, you said, not as small as Harbor Town, but you do want to be in the right spot on them. You got to be able to score in this format because you got to get low. So you need birdie or better. You got to have opportunities, give yourself shots to make those putts. The par fives are where you're going to make your mark as well. So distance I'm leaning on too, in terms of, because really the rough's not very penal, and the majority of the holes, there's not a lot of, punishment or being a little wayward off the tee. So the distance ties into the par five scoring. And then you got a pretty solid combination of the par threes and the approaches from over 200 plus yards out. So longer approach skills. Basically any time frame that you mess around with, really short term, longer term. I mean, it's really hard to not have Xander and Cantley pop as the top two because they're so good at all of those things. So I ran a model on the site this morning, and they are by far and away better than everyone else. So I get why they are priced to where they are. It's such a hard number. Like you said, by itself, 3 or sub 3. Again, you're going to feel like a dummy by not having it. But I mean, it just is not how I like to bet golf.
Yeah, it's like a lose-lose. You'll feel like an idiot not betting it, but you feel like an idiot. Like, do you want to feel like an idiot now, or do you want to feel like an idiot Sunday?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm probably going to find a way to parlay them into something. I just hate doing that. Although it has worked in the past. I was able to cash with some ROM at Mexico last year. Its price was like 5-1 just because it's John Rahm and a bunch of other guys who play this type of alternate event. So actually, hopefully that Mexico event is a lot better this year. I think people might want to go check out that course. It's a tiger design this year down in Mexico. They are not going to go to Mayakoba because the Live have infested it with their stench, apparently. They can't have that, but the top of the board, like you said, kind of avoided a lot of that. Your thoughts on M and Mitchell being priced as they are? Like, what are we doing here with Keith Mitchell? Like, I use him in DFS. I don't hate the guy, but that team didn't strike me as something that should be quite that high. And I did look at, Ron's cheat sheet. It does make sense, but maybe I'm just a Keith Mitchell hater at this point.
I'm kind of with you there. Like, it's just too short. Like, so Mitchell's going to pop in driving distance, birdies and opportunities. So he's going to give himself stuff to score. It's not been very good. Actually, one of the worst in the fields from, long proximity. And really the approach is waned a little bit. Once we actually got to Florida, where we typically like Keith Mitchell, kind of lost a little bit of that form that served him well on the West Coast. So I don't know. Like, they're too short for me. Most of these were at the very, very top. There were some wild discrepancies in prices outside of the top tier when the pricing came out. So I just didn't get too involved in anything, I would say, at the top. Same thing. I think the Kim team is also a little too short as well. Tom Kim, felt like such a good fit for him last week at Harbor Town. Couldn't really get it going, missed the cut there. Siwoo again, like that's also, he's Mr. Pete Dye. Maybe that's kind of baked into the price here as well. So them being south of 20 is also not very appealing to me. So
I didn't get on anything too early, but I did bet, and this is a little higher than right now. It's at Chris, you're down at 12. I did take a 14 on Horschel and Burns. Like, you are at the point where you do need to take good golfers. Like, the format, how this is going to work out, you're going to need to take, we can have some fun with some bombs. And I think there's definite case for some bombs here, especially in the positional markets. But the fact that you have a fair amount of like probably two good handfuls of really good golfers. I did want a couple guys near the top of the board. I really did look at Kim and him, or Kim and Kim at 18. I wish it was like 22. I thought about it. I still might pull the trigger because just the course fit, the form sucks. And we just haven't seen it from Tom Kim after kind of a hot start, but maybe playing as fuck it. I'm gonna bet it. I'm gonna bet the Kims at 18. I don't care if you don't like it. I think that's about the best price I was able to find just now, but 18-1, just like you said, course fit should be perfect for Siwoo. Tom Kim maybe just needs a little settling down. Playing with a partner might help, but I did kind of take a stab at the Horschel Burns one. A lot of it is Burns. I know Horschel's probably a little lower in my stuff than most, but man, just the opportunity to take Sam Burns. I'm looking at it at one and done as well. Obviously used Sam Burns already this year to great success. I would love the opportunity to double dip. That's the beauty of, most one and dones who include this event. Like, you can essentially use another golfer. Obviously they have to play here. You can use them twice. So I'm very tempted to use Sam Burns again. I love the fit. I love the form. I love kind of the heat index of the guy. He's playing very well over the last month, and that's about as enticing as the lower prices were. So I took him at I think 14 was the best price I found just now. I got to look a little bit.
Yeah, the Horschel thing he's been so bad, which is tough. Burns is playing terrific back in Louisiana. He's done well in PGA tracks. I get the Burns love. For sure. Just as a matter of, can Horschel piece it together? And they've had some success here, obviously, in the past as well. So it makes a lot of sense. My first is in this area as well. I went with the Kurt Kitayama, Taylor Montgomery squad. I like the long irons. They're both long off the tee. Montgomery's not been great either. He's cooled off a little bit, but he can roll it still. And, hopefully he gets on the right side of some of those alternate shots. Kitayama's been playing some decent golf as well. So I like them at 28. I think there's still some 24s or so out there on them. So I don't hate that if you're looking to jump back in. I think there's a lot of upside with that team. And again, like, they can let it rock off the tee. They both can absolutely bomb it. So that's one of my favorite squads. Kitayama also really strong with his long irons. That served him well at Bay Hill. Was part of why he did so well that week too. So I like kind of how he can continue over there. So that's probably my favorite sub 30. I've only made one more play. And it's way further down the board. And I have some interest in some teams, so I'm see if there's anything that you can talk me in on, or see if there's anything else that you like. But you're in on Kim and Horschel Burns, right?
Yeah, the Horschel one obviously scares me a little bit, but hopefully, maybe Burns. We just get to use 13 out of the 18 scores on the one, and from Burns, and it would be awful nice if Horschel shows up and he'd play, and he plays well here. So, and the Kim one, like I said, the best price I was able to find there was 18. I think it's 18 at Chris right now. So I did play that. Said I'd love a little better price, but there's some intriguing teams a little further down. I know some people have some love for Hoagie and English. Both guys have been a little kind of inconsistent, I guess. I know English had the injury, but both of them won on tour over the last year and a half years. So they're good enough players. I know Benyon and Kim, Perez and Dietrich, the Danish, Olsen and Højgaard, and then honestly Fitzpatrick. I know it's a big step down from one Fitzpatrick to the other, but you get a major winner. Like who do we have for major winners here? Just Morikawa and him. I'm trying to look. Obviously I'm not going to count British Opens from 1992. Yes, I know John Daly and David Duval have won some stuff, but I
think that's it.
You get a pretty good name with someone else that It's like the skills competition at the NBA. It's like, I get all three. I can't even do it. Giannis and his brothers. I'm so bad at saying that last name. It's like, oh, there we go. So I don't hate some of that, but I did end up with a 40-1 on Joel Dahman and Denny McCartney.
Okay.
Denny McCartney. McCarthy. Jesus Christ, Andy, learn to say his name. So
I don't hate that one at all. That's one I like in that middle range.
And another couple guys where it's like, if the long irons are okay, because I think that's going to be some of the weakness here, then I think they'll do all right. But there are a lot of these shorter par fours. The par fours are kind of split. There's some long ones. There's one that's drivable, but I think I have enough in the approach, in the greens and regulations, in the around the green stuff, and decent enough off the tee and with distance to get me there at 40-1. So not in love with some of these further down the board, but I do like Denny. Denny can putt.
Denny can putt.
This is another one where it's like, hey, if you guys are playing about the same, but Denny's just draining everything, and we get to use a bunch of his birdies, like they're going to be down there. They're going to be able to get in there.
Yeah, I like that one a little bit too. I have an eye on the Hadwin Nick Taylor team, just because if you've ever played alternate shot, there's nothing you do more than apologize. Having two Canadians just continuing to say sorry to each other over and over again, I think that they're just built to do that very well. And they're also playing decent golf, so I don't hate that squad at all. So those are a couple that are interesting to me. The one that's now in this range that I bet I got it at 90 though, which was part of the reason I bet it. Yeah. And at the same time, it was like 40, 45 on some other books, was Scott Stallings and Trey Mullinax. Mullinax can hit it a mile. He's not been playing particularly well. Scott Stallings played pretty well, surprisingly, at the Masters. We know he can get really hot and gets in form. And, Mullinax, Southeastern guy, he can play well down here. This is pretty much where most of these down Southeast events of where he's finished best in his career. So advantage where he can just rip it off the tee, and hopefully Stallings gets white hot. Again, I thought 90 was a bad number, and then markets kind of agreed with me based off of where it's moved to. So that's my only other play, but I'm considering a couple there with the Taylor, Hadwin, and I do like the Damon and McCarthy team too, because you just got to make putts. Like, you're going to have to score down here. So if they can get on the right side of it, and Damon maybe gets hot with the long irons, and Denny can drain some putts, they're going to be in the mix here. So those are some of the ones that I've taken a liking to. Good old boys singing Lipsky and Rye. Is that of any interest to you as well?
No, probably not. Aaron Rye pissed me off. I bet against him a little. So.
Oh, you bet against him last week? Yeah.
I'm a little cold on my read on him, but no, that's it for outrights for me. I am very unlikely to play matchups here, just because it's not like I've had great luck lately anyway. I've been a little cold with them, but man, like trying to handicap 4 golfers at the same time, unless there's a price that's just considerably off where I think it should be, I'm very doubtful to play much for matchups, especially daily stuff. I think that will lead me to bet a few more derivatives at this point. Like you said, I like Hadwin Taylor. I like Seung-Hun Kim and Benny Ann. Those are both on the right side of plus money for top 20. I think, you don't want to take 17 top 20 bets, and there's a little bit of negative correlation eventually, but I feel like I'm going to have 3 or 4 of those. So I'm going to price those out right now. I'm saying I will bet these at the current prices or better. If I can find a better price, I'm only looking at one book right now, but Hadwin and Taylor, and then SH Kim and Benny on over about plus 120 on both of those to top 20. I believe dead heat, those where I'm looking at it, dead heat rules do apply. So, and dead heat rules apply, must tee off for action. Okay, so if I can find some better prices than that, obviously I'll have them, but I did bet those in my head at least. I'm just going to shop after the show. And then maybe a look at a couple other ones. I don't mind Kitayama Montgomery, but even money, not even money, minus 110 to top 10 or top 20. I think further down the board, if there are some bombs that you like, maybe that's another decent opportunity to take something there too. God, where's the one? Oh, Higgs, Smotherman. No, that's not. A top 20 long shot. I kind of like Cole, or how you feel about Mr. Cole, but Samuel. I'm gonna look up Samuel Sanders here.
It's not good.
It's not great.
No,
It's been a little iffy. And to be fair, we can give him some leeway. A little newer, but Cole Sanders top 20 is going to be close to 3-1. That's something I might be looking at too. I'll take a look further down the board, some longer shots to see if there's some value. Maybe some top 40s if I end up in. I have no idea. I'm going to be in South Carolina. It doesn't have legal betting.
They do not. They do not.
Does North Carolina?
No. It's tough.
You know what? Somebody told me he was flying from New York to Vegas, and the map that you have Delta has this. The map where it says where your plane is. He says when he was over Colorado, he was able to legally bet at the Colorado books, even being 36,000 feet in the air or whatever it is.
That's pretty smart.
So yeah, I don't. Like, he swears, and this is not a guy who would bullshit me on this. So maybe if I fly over Tennessee or Virginia, or I'm not sure what the the slope with the angle of the earth.
You'll have a little time maybe over Illinois.
Illinois, yeah, I think I'll probably be over Illinois, maybe Indiana, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to catch one of those 3 states.
You'll catch one of those.
So
yeah, for sure.
I'll see how much time I have to open using the American Air Wi-Fi. See if I can open an account real quick. At one, because some of those states you can't be like, oh, you can't just use your DraftKings account from the other state. You have to open another one here. So we'll see how that goes. That's my last tip for the day. Is there's a chance that you're able to bet from the air if you're flying over a space, because those borders, it's like how the goal line goes to infinity in football. State borders go straight up to infinity. That's how airspace works, guys.
Geolocators are infinite to the sky. So yeah, that's a good tip. You don't get that on every show, Andy. This is a unique piece of
I still haven't tried it. I don't know. Like, this guy swears.
It makes sense though.
He was betting at circa Colorado while he was in the air. So interesting to find out. But yeah, I'll dig into some top 20 prices and some longer numbers. There's a ton of guys down there that
It's a lot of one guy that I like, and then I don't love the partner, and that's kind of the nature of the event, right? It's just because in that same section, like Taylor Moore is playing outstanding golf. Can I swallow Matthew Neesmith here? It's not been great as of late. Now again, it's typically maybe the wrong word, but it hasn't been great outside of baseline approach is pretty good, but it's been pretty rocky. One other team in, I think, not an outright, but to your point, maybe a longer number on a T20 or even a T40 is the Harry Hall, Akshay Bhatia team, where Bhatia has been really good from a ball striking standpoint, and Hall's one of the best putters on tour. So, a guy like that can just roll it really hot. Like, you can get into some pretty good streaks if you set up with the right way in terms of alternate shot and the best ball format. So again, not an outright, but deeper down the board play that I'm going to look a little bit into if I can get a good number. But that's about it to me. You're burying the lead here because you're going to South Carolina for a very, very unique experience, and probably not, the last, because I expect you to go ahead and handle some hardware, take down our old friend here, Jeff Feinberg, and put him in.
Yeah. What if I win the damn trophy? Like, then I have to join the tour. I think
you have to. Have you prepared your wife and kids for this?
I had a players only meeting not players only, like the tour officials were in there. And it's funny, a bunch of players just joined from one Zoom call, like on one computer or phone from the course. Like, they're down there grinding practice rounds already.
You're burying the lead. You got to tell people what we're talking about.
Dead meat. So I will be participating in the Professional World Putting League's tour stop this week in Myrtle Beach at the Hawaiian Rumble. And yeah, there are some legal books that have odds for this. It's not every state. I think it's Colorado and Indiana are the ones that are letting it. I think it's DraftKings and Betfred have odds up for this now. But in the offshore world, there has been, I think Dave and Bernsey are having fun with this at Bet Online because they hung a bunch of different props on this. Like, you can bet into a ton of goofy stuff. Honestly, I think they had some more stuff up today, but it was basically there's a 3-ball price between Pizzola, Feinberg, and myself. I was favored for a while for God knows why. I have no idea why that was happening, but some sharp money came in and Pizzola pushed him ahead for the time being. The part I'm enjoying is Feinberg being clearly the dog. You can bet here's where I need to make a statement on integrity. You can bet, will any of us 4+ putt like take us a 4 or worse on any hole. Well, I have complete control of that. I want it on the record that I play to win, and there will not be any shenanigans. So don't think I'm just gonna. And also, you'd have to lay. It's a $50 max bet at minus 1,500, so you'd have to lay 750 to take advantage of that. But that will not be happening. I will be maximum 2-putt. If I have a 3-putt, I'll actually be a little upset. You can bet me to make the cut. Any of us amateurs at 2-1. I don't know if that's happening. Some pretty good golfers down there. So, yeah, I'll be a little out of pocket this week. I'll try to get all my bets in. Newsletter should be out a little earlier just to accommodate some of that travel. I won't be able to join office hours Wednesday afternoon. You'll have to get by with just Noonan and Ron over there in the public, the private part of the Discord. And then also, yeah, if you're looking to join, if you haven't gotten yourself a membership, you want to get in that members only Discord, a monthly sub right now, still just $20, obviously, but it does also go through the PGA Championship. So if you sign up today, you get yourself a major. Like and actually you get a couple other decent events as well. There's Wells Fargo and Byron Nelson in there. Those are very good ones too. Yeah, we hit an outright last year at Wells Fargo. I don't remember who won Byron Nelson, but looking forward to this next stretch of golf for sure here. And obviously, rate, review, subscribe, like, share, promote, give us some love. If you have any questions, our Twitter handles are on the screen. If you're listening, it's at AndyMSFW, at RY Noonan, at BetSperts Golf, at PGA Splits 101, at BetSperts Golf, betSpertsGolf.com. See you next week.